Good afternoon, everyone. My name is MJ Granados-Godoy, and I am an attorney here in Miami, Florida. My law firm is Simply Legal, and we are a boutique law firm. We actually just won an award for top boutique law firm in Miami by the South Florida Business and Wealth magazine. And we represent investors and business owners here in Florida and outside the United States across many different industries: digital, non-digital, real estate, different assets and types of investment vehicles. And what we do at Simply Legal is we take a wholesome approach to our client. We make sure that we know what their business goals are, but also their personal goals, so that we can take a proactive approach to how we advise them. We become part of their team and make sure that we're not putting out fires, but we're helping them grow and expand. So it's a very different way, non-traditional way in which we approach business and real estate law. I was asked to speak here regarding DAOs, and we'll go more into DAOs, and then we'll do like a basic 101, so don't worry, for those of you that are not as familiar. And specifically DAOs, investing in more tangible assets such as real estate. It hasn't happened in Florida just yet, but there are DAOs being created everywhere that have this specific purpose. So it's very, very timely. All right, so let's get started. Imagine this. Let's try and picture the scenario of the first time that a DAO tries to purchase a commercial real estate property in Miami, Florida, in downtown Miami, Florida. So let's say Amy and 99 of her closest BFFs decide to get together and purchase real estate. And they decide that the perfect way to get together and fund this project is through a DAO. So they decide to call it Lady DAO. So we'll call it Lady DAO. And we'll go through a quick recap of what a DAO is. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, and it is managed by self-executing code on the blockchain. So it's a very different type of business entity, nothing like this, and it is transparent and verifiable. So it's, again, nothing like this. So since it's owned by, they're not called members or shareholders, they're called token holders most of the time. Sometimes they call them shareholders. They really shouldn't, because some SEC rules, but anyway, and it's funded by crypto. So there are two main categories of DAOs, and I'll say this now because it applies later to the story. There's two main categories: they're registered and unregistered DAOs. So the registered DAOs, as the name implies, they're registered in a state for them to operate legally. What this means is they register in Delaware, or they register on Vermont or Wyoming, and they create a legal entity. This is very important because a legal entity will shield its members from liability. And it will also allow them to enter into agreements as an entity and not as individuals. So that's what registering means. Now, unregistered entities, which are the most common right now, are a bunch of people that get together and they create a DAO. They don't register as a legal entity, and they can run into a lot of problems, like signing a contract. So if you have 500 members, or I think there's some DAOs that have 5,000, 6,000 members, who signs the contract? Who is the actual person? Yes, they might appoint one person, but is that person, since signing in individual capacity, are they liable for the entire contract? A lot of the states will treat DAOs, whether registered or unregistered, they'll treat them as general partnerships, which means that none of the members' personal assets are covered from liability, which is huge. So if something goes wrong, they can come after all of your personal assets. In Florida, we don't have registered DAOs just yet. And I say yet because we have a very crypto-friendly mayor, Francis Suarez, a big shout out to him, who is really moving this city along. So we are confident that Florida won't stay behind. So in our story, we'll get back to our story, Lady DAO decides not to register in Florida. since they're not to register because they're going to buy real estate in Florida. So they go unregistered. Why would they decide to purchase real estate through a DAO? Why not do it through a traditional LLC? Why would you go through the trouble of jumping hoops and be the first DAO that purchased real estate? Well, the concept of decentralization is key. I think everybody in this room and everybody in this conference understands what the benefit is for that. In a regular company, you have corporate hierarchy. You have voting and non-voting shares. You have complicated ways of how decisions are made. And with DAOs, everything's triggered through smart contracts. Everything's self-executing. Everything is clear. People have already agreed to it. Every member has a vote. If they have a token, they have a vote. So it's a great concept because everybody gets to contribute. You're registered on the blockchain, so it's transparent ledgers. In corporations, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's one person that's appointed and you have to request it a certain way. So here it's available at all times in real time. It's really fast funding. Lady DAO found a phenomenal deal. Real estate's really hot in Miami, and they decided to do it because they could get together and raise $1.2 million because commercial real estate in downtown Miami is pretty expensive, $1.2 million in a flash, in just a few days. You could never do that through a regular corporation. That just doesn't exist. Corporate hierarchies would not allow that. And one of the great things about DAO is that you can be part of a community. So you can bring your skills to the purpose of the DAO. You can, if you're an accountant, you can help provide some services. If you are, whatever your knowledge is, you can help provide it in a DAO, or you can sit on the sidelines and learn. So in this case, in our story, Amy wants to learn with other people's money and decided to learn how real estate investment works by just sitting on the sidelines of this DAO. But you get to do that with DAO. So it's really interesting way to do it. So with purchasing real estate, the first thing is signing a contract. And who is the buyer? We called the DAO a Lady DAO. But what does that really mean? Is that's not an entity. They didn't decide to register it. So is it the 100 people, the 100 members? Are they the ones that become a buyer? In legal terms, technically, if it's a general partnership, so how do they get treated? Who is going to be signing on their behalf? Just the person they decided is going to sign? Well, if that person signs, are they signing in their own capacity? They could potentially be liable for the entire $1.2 million. So it's very important. So Amy hires the best DAO law firm in Miami, simply legal, and registers a blockchain-based limited liability company in Vermont. There's only a few states that you can do this in, but we'll talk a little bit more about later having a Vermont company here in Florida. So they register, and with an LLC, because it's a blockchain-based LLC, they're able to sign the contract. Now, we move on to escrow. Sorry guys, you can't hold escrow in crypto. Traditional contracts for purchases of real estate need to be in dollars, and lawyers should not be accepting crypto for trust accounts, for payment of fees and something else. So they, fine. Lady DAO puts it in fiat in the escrow account of the attorney. Now comes, you're under contract, they have to clear title, and in order for it to be insured. So I'll give you just a one-liner basically of what title insurance is. Title insurance, when you're buying property in the United States, everybody buys it. You have an option not to, but no one does it because you're basically ensuring that you are the owner of that real estate. If anything happens, you have that insurance policy. So everybody buys it. So we go to insure the title for this commercial real estate property in Miami, and the underwriter of the insurance company will not recognize a DAO. They're not in Vermont, and title insurance does not really recognize DAOs anywhere that I know of. Also, the title searches, because if it was an unregistered DAO, they'd have to do a title search on every single member, which could never happen. It's 100. We would be closing in like 6 months. So with a registered DAO, and if it was recognized, it'd be different, but it's not. So it'd be treated as a general partnership. And if Lady DAO wants to pay with crypto, they don't insure. And yes, you've heard crypto, buying real estate and whatnot. Crypto's still converted into fiat. So unless you're buying property without title insurance, then you're looking most likely at one point in time in the transaction, crypto being converted. So after consulting their trusted attorneys at Simply Legal, they made a business decision knowing their risk, and they decided not to get title insurance. This doesn't really happen very often, but there is a way to purchase real estate. Just they didn't get title insurance. Now, one of the parts of making sure that you own an office space is that you have to apply to the condominium that runs it. Even for commercial properties, they have condominium associations. If the condominium association does not recognize a DAO because it's not recognized in Florida, you're running into another problem. So, again, you go to your trusted attorneys, and hopefully there will be a loophole that they'll find. If there is one, we'll find it, to make sure that your DAO will be allowed to be an owner in this commercial real estate property. If it doesn't recognize it and it wants to treat it like a partnership, they'd basically be doing a background search to be admitted into the condominium association of 100 members. So they would probably block it at some point unless there is some sort of loophole. Then lastly, all businesses that operate in Florida must be registered to do business in the division of corporations here. And even if you're not registered, that is not the way that it's supposed to be done. All businesses must do it. But if you are a blockchain-based limited liability company from Vermont, or you are also a DAO LLC from Wyoming, or Ricardian LLC from Delaware, they will not recognize it. So then again, you will run into the problem of operating without the permission of the state. So we'll get to the questions in a little bit. So what would happen? Florida could treat it like a general partnership, or they could tell you that you're basically unlawfully operating. So Lady DAO decides not to register the company to do business in Florida and run the risk. They know what the risks are. They decide to take a business risk. It's only our job to tell them what the risks are and the business decision, whether you want to apply it or not. So Lady DAO is able to close after jumping a million hoops. So in a perfect world, we would be able to jump all of these hoops. It'd be really difficult, but they own real estate. We are not done yet. So they become the first DAO in Florida to own real estate. And what could happen afterwards, right? So they want to record the deed in public record. People need to know that they own this property. Do we know what the records office is going to do if they don't recognize this type of entity, or that they can't verify it? We don't know. They could kick it back. Even though it closed, we don't know what could happen. So there's a lot of unknowns. Another unknown is what would happen with the property appraiser's office so that you can pay your taxes. Miami is moving forward to pay taxes with crypto, which would be great and attractive, but we don't know how the property appraiser's office would also take an entity that is not recognized by the state. And lastly, property insurance. I don't really know if an insurance company is going to underwrite a property that is owned by an entity that they don't recognize. Maybe there's someone in the audience in the insurance world that could answer that question for us, but honestly, it hasn't happened in Florida, so I don't know what would happen. So the reason for all of this is I'm telling you there are a lot of loopholes, a lot of pitfalls that this whole transaction can go through. And it's not to scare anyone, it is, DAOs are coming. DAO is a great type of entity and the world is changing. It needs to have these type of entities. But know that if you are one of the pioneers, and you are because you're in this room, it is very important that you know what's coming so that you can try and choose the path that's best for you and your company and not put all of that investment at risk. The more that you plan and the more proactive you are in the way that you operate your business, the better chances of your success. So it's just a way for you to think about what you're going to do, get the advice that you need to protect that investment and expand your growth. So, we're a non-traditional law firm, and we help minimize those risks by maximizing ROI. I would love to take some questions. I know that I saw some hands up there. I will do my very best. There's a lot of unknowns, but I'll give it a try. Yes? Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Repeat the question.
Okay, could a Vermont blockchain-based LLC be basically the holding company of another corporation or another type of legally recognized entity all over the states that could then own the real estate? And yes, absolutely, you can definitely layer. Companies, but what happens when you do that is you are the reason you chose the DAO to begin with was that you would have decentralized management of that company. And when you start layering corporate entities on top of it, you start centralizing it. So yes, you can do it, absolutely. But then you have to look at what your purpose is and what you're trying to do with that asset that you're trying to purchase, or with your DAO in general. Mm-hmm. No other questions? Oh, yeah.
You mentioned NFTs in your last session. If you're developing
Well, right now.
Repeat the question, and this is going to have to be the last question.
All right, sorry. So could you create NFTs for the different properties that you own, that you're going to sell? Yes. So right now you can't do any of that in Florida. So you can't purchase real estate through NFTs right now. I don't see it being anytime soon. I do see that it is moving towards that in the rest of the world, so the United States will catch up eventually. But right now in Florida, that's not happening.
Only in the states like Vermont or the ones
not through NFTs. Through DAOs. DAOs are allowed in Wyoming, Vermont, and Delaware is not technically a DAO. It's a Ricardian LLC, but that's a technicality. That's different. But it's a DAO. It's not owning property through tokens. It's basically owning it through an entity made up of members that are registered on a blockchain and that pay their shares, or not. Let's not call them shares. Let's call them tokens with crypto. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions, please contact me. Make sure that you scan that barcode. I have, thank you.